Good morning, everybody. It is February 12th, 2024, and you are listening to episode 6 of a New Era podcast. Uh, my name is Fryddy. I'm here with OG Frid on this fine Super Bowl hangover Monday.
I was going to
for
say,
everybody.
you sound a little tired.
And it's not even that, man. I don't think I've ever been more unhappy after seeing the end of a Super Bowl than I was last night. No, that's a lie because we had like '07 and like 11 that sucked. But like for one that like my team's not in it,
Yeah.
that's game stunk, man. And but hold on, we'll get into it. Well, I don't want to do this yet. We'll be talking about the Super Bowl, our first reactions and initial reactions and stuff like that today. We've got a back-to-back champion again for the first time since the Patriots. So long to that record. We'll jump into some of the Pats hirings. Dad's got a cool segment about some QBs and some potential targets later on down the road for the Patriots, depending on what they do during this offseason. We will touch on the new Red Sox series that are coming to Netflix, hopefully in 2025, about the 2004 and 2024 teams, and then we'll close this one out. So, Dad, before we get started, would you like to say anything to the audience here?
I just want to say good morning, audience. Good morning, Hanson. Guys, episode 6, we have crossed over almost at 115 downloads. Thank you everyone for your continued support, listening to our old man, young guy takes, and boy do I have a lot to throw in at Hanson about this past Super Bowl and all the commercials and all the little video things about a new dynasty. And I know a lot of the reason why we brought this up when we want to talk, and we started by calling it the new era, due to the Belichick leaving the Patriots, and that whole Patriots dynasty is Hanson's childhood.
Yeah.
So I think this next segment will be listening to Hanson just be all sad.
Well, so how much of the game did you watch?
I actually watched the whole thing. Well, I shouldn't say I watched the whole thing because I was upstairs and just kept on flipping between an incredible ending of the WM golf tournament, which what many of them call it, the 5th major. I mean,
Yeah.
Unreal ending. Fantastic ending. I felt bad for another old guy. I thought Hoffman, but he played the last couple holes tentative. He played it not to lose the tournament when he had, I think at one point, 3 holes or a 3-stroke lead. And coming down to the end, he played very tentative, not to lose. I mean, as a 47-year-old, if he would have won, he would have had exemption for the next 2 years, leading him into the senior tour. And he hadn't won in over 7,000 days. It was like 8 years or longer since his last win.
That's a lot of days.
A lot of days. And Nick Taylor, the Canadian, won by birding 5 out of the last 6 holes, including a 2-round playoff. It was that guy was just on fire, just could not miss anything from 9 feet in. It was great. Scotty Scheffler, I think just broke down. I mean, it was a long day for a bunch of those guys. The Gala, who was leading, those guys had I saw in the morning, I flipped on in it was like 11 a.m., noon, and they're on the golf course playing. So they were finishing round 3, and a bunch of those guys had to play 8, 9 holes and then turn around and finish it up. And Scotty couldn't go for his three-peat. Missed a couple easy putts at the end, but you just saw like emotion and just wear and just tired. He was just tired at the end. A lot of the guys were.
So I'll bring it back on the most important sports day in the United States.
Yeah.
You didn't watch the conclusion of
No.
an overtime Super Bowl repeat because you were watching the Waste Management Open.
No.
Do you get
I
what I'm saying here?
I hear what you're saying. I missed the first. I was flipping in between when there was a commercial. I flipped back up and watched. So I missed the first 49ers field goal and into this part of the second quarter.
Okay, I thought you were talking about like later in the game. I was like,
Oh,
that's
no,
when
no,
you
no,
don't
no.
switch away. Yeah, you could have missed the first quarter and that was fine.
Yeah.
But
And
it starts off with that field goal and then the Christian McCaffrey touchdown to go up 10-0. Chiefs had a chance there at the end of the first half, try to get a touchdown, ended up having to get the field goal. You're feeling good. As a Niners guy rooting for it yesterday, I was feeling good. I was like, Niners look good. They were attacking the run in the first. Defense was locking down. Then you get in the third quarter, man, and I don't know if the conversation needs to be brought up about the fact that, like, maybe in these big games, like, Kyle Shanahan can't make the halftime adjustments that need to be made. I mean, this is the third Super Bowl blown lead now that he's been a part of, and a memorable one at that. I mean, third quarter, they just defensively, they kind of look lost. You know, that MVS touchdown, I mean, it's a great play by Kansas City. It was drawn up really well. Then you go out of the third, it's 13-10 with the Chiefs, and the Jawan Jennings, the little trickery play that was cool to see. And then, Jawan Jennings, I thought he caught one too.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see Jawan Jennings. So you had the stars ready, and
never mind, I'm seeing it here.
And Christian McCaffrey did the double 75 rushing and receiving, and Debo did some Debo stuff. But it was really interesting. And on Kansas City side, I mean, Pacheco ran as hard as he usually does. Didn't have tons of yards, but ran very hard. Caught a bunch of balls. And yes, Kelsey ended up 9 receptions for 93 yards when it looked like he wasn't going to do much. But yet the adjustments that we mentioned that San Francisco didn't do, obviously Kansas City did during halftime. But it was kind of cool to see Jawan Jennings, Watson actually perform very well. I don't think they were, thought of offensively to do much going into this game. And both of those guys, I think, held it together until on the Kansas City side, your stars finally showed up.
Yeah, until Kelsey turned it on. Because, I mean, I think, like, at some point in the third quarter, he had 1 target. They were showing the stat right on the screen. 1 target, 1 reception, 1 yard. In the third. Yeah. And then, I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about. I mean, you talk about Kelsey. I'm sure you saw the fucking Andy Reid thing where he's pissed off in the fumble that he wasn't on the field, which I don't understand. First off, going out there, like, I know it's a big game. I know you're wired in. You want to win this game, but you go over there, you fucking get in the coach's face. You guys aren't even like you're nowhere close to the end of the game. And the funniest thing is, too, he's bitching about not being in there to block when he's not a good blocking tight end. Noah Gray should have been in that play. It's fine that, the fumble happens. The 49ers literally had a fumble a little before then, too. But in no situation am I being like, yeah, I'd rather have Travis Kelce out there blocking for me because that would have stopped the fumble. Or I'd rather have Travis Kelce blocking out there for me because he would have jumped on the ball. You don't know that. I
Yeah.
know he's just caught up in the moment and all, and he wants to show off for Taylor up there in the little booth and all, but that was ridiculous. It just goes on to just make this team more unlikable, man. I don't know. But then, so we're talking about, the Juwan Jennings touchdown. And as soon as this happened, I think I posted a tweet about it. I was on board with, I'm like, get Juwan Jennings Super Bowl MVP. He's thrown a touchdown. He's caught a touchdown. He was there where he needed to be. He played pretty well. Probably his best game all year. And then we just have fucking field goal city for the rest of the fourth, ties it up with 3 seconds to go. I was so worried in that last. I think I'm looking at it here. Niners kicked it with 1:53 left. I think they gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes with 2 timeouts. And I was sitting there watching it with my buddies. I was like, this is too much time.
Yeah.
Like I was pretty sure that game was done then. Go down there, make the stop, 3 seconds left, kick the field goal, bring it into overtime. While the Niners did only get a field goal out of that first drive, so 13 play, 66 yards, 7-minute and 38-second drive in overtime. Obviously, you're giving a lot of times to Mahomes there. You really needed to get a touchdown, and I think they had that I think it was 3rd and 4, and couldn't convert it and have to kick. Like, you feel good about that, but then the defense, man, as great as they were playing in the first, and they tried to have it carry over throughout the game. I mean, dude, when you're facing Patrick Mahomes, you can't give him 7 minutes. You can't give him the whole field. You can't give him 3 timeouts. And just what happened is what happens with Patrick Mahomes. This is what they do. We were talking about this in the Baltimore and Chiefs game 2 weeks ago, and he just comes out here and does it again. D'Amico Hardman runs the flat route. There's nobody out there, and they get the touchdown. And then that sucks. And then that's it. That's our Super Bowl champion. And man, you got to feel for the 49ers. You really do. And I'd say you definitely got to feel for Brock too. There was so much on Brock's shoulders this week. Everybody's talking about, the field manager this, game manager that, blah, blah, blah. And then, he goes out there, 23 of 38, 255 and a touchdown. I mean, didn't do a lot, but did enough that, he should get the he should get the respect that he deserves, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, going into the third quarter, both him and Mahomes actually had the same amount of passing yards.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Yep. But yet Spagnuolo just drew up blitzes at the right time.
He did, and they did a good job of. And I really think that might honestly be it. I mean, you look at when San Francisco was moving the ball through the air. I mean, when you gave Brock enough time in that pocket, he was moving incredibly around that pocket. There were some plays where the pocket was collapsing, and he just with his movement moved the whole pocket to the left. It was a pass in the second where it is blowing up the pocket there. He moves a little to the left, eyes still downfield. He's not worried about anything. He threw an absolute dot and then got hit a second later. Those are the plays that you want to see your quarterback make under pressure. And he played well, man. And God, you wanted him to. I wanted him to win this. Obviously, you had the Chiefs, and I think deep down I knew this was going to happen too. But I just didn't want to believe it because I wanted the Pats to be the last back-to-back Super Bowl champ that we have. But 20 years of holding that record, not too bad. Now we won't see this again for another 30 or something.
Yeah,
back-to-back winner. And then you get them on the podium, man, and the first thing they're talking about, oh no, we can go for 3. I'm like, guys, fucking lay it off, okay? Come on, we're not even done yet. You guys aren't even off the fucking field. This game sucked, man. It was a good game. That's the thing. It doesn't even suck. It was a really, really good football game. After the first, which was kind of a snooze fest, and a little bit through the second, it was a really good game. And, it was a really good Super Bowl.
Really,
everything all around.
Really defensive game. Who would have thought that both defenses were going to step up. Armstead had a great game himself, couple sacks and all, and pressures. But it was also, I mean, the whole telecast. I mean, Tony Romo.
Oh my God, I have never heard somebody just never mind. But he is almost unlistenable when Patrick Mahomes, when he's doing a game that Patrick Mahomes is there. And like I knew it was going to be a thing. We almost threw it in our drinking game that every time that Tony Romo sucks off Patrick Mahomes, you take a drink. But
yeah,
I think we all would have been dead by the end of that because he just couldn't get him out of his mouth, dude. It was, and this is every game. My God, and then you get in the fourth. Oh, Mahomes, man, this guy. Let me tell you, Jim. And it's every fucking play, man.
but it was.
I sound like I don't like football right now.
I mean,
but
CBS is totally in love with the Chiefs. I mean,
of course,
and plus, you know, Kelsey. There was that. I recall that one. I think it was second quarter where Tony goes, "Oh, yep." Kelsey finally makes a catch and goes, "Oh no, that was Noah."
Oh yeah. He called it out. He goes, I remember exactly which one you're talking about, and it was so clearly not Travis Kelsey too.
Yeah,
But Tony was just hoping for the moment. Yeah, he goes, "Oh, that's Kelsey," and he gets up, and I think Jim was like, "That's number 83, Tony," and he was like, "Oh, well, that's actually Noah Gray." I'm like, "Come on, man."
And he goes, "Oh, they look alike. They run the same routes."
Yeah, Noah Gray's like 5 inches shorter than Travis Kelsey, but they look alike. Yeah,
yeah, same number there, Tony.
Oh, well,
and then on top of it, which I knew when I saw that little graphic that they had about passing the baton, how Tom Brady was.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on that.
When I saw that, I said, "Oh, Hanson is just going to throw some at the TV right now."
I almost did. I was like, come on, guys. But everybody around my Super Bowl party was just like, dude, no. Like, what is this graphic? We're not passing any baton right now. And now the conversation. The worst part about it, I tweeted out right after the game. I was like, damn it, guys. Now we have to hear about Mahomes versus Brady comparisons for all of the offseason. All of it. I'm sure I'm going to turn on First Things First, like right after this, and Nick Wright's just going to be talking all day about it. Colin Coward, they're going to be talking about it all day and then all week, and then Stephen Smith's going to bring it on, and it's going to feel like a snowball, man. It's going to be so.
I feel
annoying.
more bad for Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tied Joe Montana now. Now Joe just going to drop way down the bucket list for some,
which is crazy because like, I know he's a good quarterback, man. But I mean, you saw like Montana, like,
yeah,
that's also one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Are we just because he has 3, now we're just placing him above there? Like that's it for Joe? Is that how it goes now?
It's crazy. Championships, yeah. You win your championship, but but on top of it, I mean, you mentioned already, he just has that winning mentality. I mean, he willed a couple of those. I mean, that long run he had, the 4th and 1, he was just like, nope, I'm not gonna hand it off to Pacheco. He's either gonna not make it or he's gonna fumble it. So he had the opportunity either to pass it off to Travis or just run, get that first down. The other run play that they had after that into overtime. I mean, he just wills.
He does. He just finds a way to win, man. And you hate him because he's great. And that's the worst part about it. And I told my buddy who is a Steelers fan, and he was watching the game with us last night. And I was like, man, this has got to suck for you because like now I understand why people hated us for so long. I'm sitting there and I was like, I hate these guys. Like if I was a Patriots hater from 2000 to 2020, I would have been like, dude, this sucks. Like I hate this team, hate seeing them win. I get it now. Still doesn't make it cool, but I get it now. Like and he was like, yeah, dude, how do you think I feel? Like I can't get out of the fucking AFC. I was like, yeah, I know. But I mean, there's not. I mean, I could go on about this for hours, and I'm just going to continue to run around in circles here about I wish just San Francisco came to play the whole game. I mean, they really they looked great the first half, and I don't know if it's Kyle Shanahan and the Niners at halftime, or if it's more so Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes making adjustments at halftime. But it's just it sucks. I really wish they could have pulled it out, but it was still a good game. I mean, enough about the game part though. There's some fun stuff we can talk about from it too.
Yeah, let's talk about fun stuff. But I'd go to the latter. I think Andy Reid, again, third all time now, great coach. I think his adjustments. Kyle Shanahan, yes, I mean we can say this is the third collapse he's had, but and does he not make the adjustments? But he had incredible team. I mean, great weapons all over. Although they didn't involve Kittle at all.
At all. Yeah. I think he got his first catch with like 6 minutes to go in the fourth. I still just don't understand why. And I mean, he still had 22 carries. I know some of those came in overtime. And you don't want to wear them too much into the ground. But at the same time, it's the Super Bowl, man. You can't play conservative in these games. You got to go out and want it and get it. And I mean, McCaffrey should have been ran a whole lot more on those last like 2 drives that they had. They should have, if you give McCaffrey 3-4 more carries in that fourth down in between your 2 possessions, instead of giving the Chiefs a minute and 53 left at the end of the game, you're giving them
minute.
Yeah, minute 10 maybe. And while yes, Mahomes is still scary in that situation, you're then forcing them to have to use their timeouts to get down to the field. I mean, they were running hurry-up offense for the first 45 seconds of that drive. They got down to, like, their 40 and made a play and then finally called their first timeout. Called the second one, I think, with the first timeout was, like, 29 seconds or something after they had just walked down the field. And then they used the last one to get in for field goal range there. And you just... I don't know. I don't know if they were just tired. I don't know. I'm sure the Dre Greenlaw injury, which a shout out to him there, but that sucks. Did you saw that in the second drive? The dude's just excited to get out there. He's warming up. He's jumping around, and then boom. And you saw it, and like I think it was Tony. They're just like, oh well, I hope he's okay. No, you saw that, and those are like Achilles injuries. You could see the snap. You could see him just fall, and like, damn, man, like to play at an all-pro level like he did all year, to get into the biggest game, the one that matters, and just get too excited to run onto the field and have that happen. That sucks. And you lose that guy, and yes, they've got some good defensive depth, but you lose a leader like that on defense and have to try to make up for it against the team that's going to attack that the most and is smart about that. And you got Kelsey going across the middle and you're down the linebacker. I mean, the Chiefs are going to capitalize on that situation. But like I said, we can talk about some of the fun stuff because I know, I don't know. Stuff. Did you bet on any of the fun stuff after we talked about it yesterday?
I did hit on the Reba McEntire.
The over?
Yep.
Nice. I was also on that. That was a little worrisome because she had that first Brave that ended at like a minute and 29 seconds. And then she hit that second Brave that brought it into like a minute and 34 seconds. I was like, thank you, Reba. She definitely knew the line. She wanted it to be spicy. She wanted to get over.
And I did a little Google search while we're doing it, and it said she's never come close to 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Any other time.
And I mean, the last one she did, I think, was like a live event in 2018 or something. And I think it was the longest she had ever done, and it was 80 seconds on the dot. And I wish I knew that before picking, but actually, I'm happy I didn't because I probably would have went the under.
I
had a feeling about the over, and it squeaked out. So that was some fun stuff. I saw some people getting happy about that bet early on. You got what else? Gatorade color was purple. I told you that. Purple. I called you. I said I got some insider info, and I should have bet it too. Was purple. Usher, first song, My Way. That one was. They were talking about that all day. I think somebody leaked that or leaked the set list. But that one was gaining a lot of traction. I think it was like a minus 150 favorite before the halftime show started. Did you watch any of that? Did you and Mom watch the?
You know what? We did watch it, and I'm not a Drake or Usher guy. Like, I only recognized a couple songs during it,
God.
but Mom and I, yeah, we actually said I really enjoyed that performance.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, we were super happy about it here and watching it from my place. I think it was one of the better Super Bowl performances we've had in a while.
Recently, yeah.
Like, I mean, the Weeknd's was pretty good, but I think Usher's was better than the Weeknd. And then you've got,
Well,
I mean, it might be the best one since like Bruno Mars, man.
Yeah, because the Weeknd had, and what I really enjoyed was not the. I mean, he was on the field, dancing, singing. Stage setup wasn't crazy. I mean, the Weeknd had all that weird crap and out in the stands.
Yeah, he was going through like the tunnels and all that.
I mean, that was weird. That was fucked up.
But it was he kicked ass there. I was grooving. I know. I might know a lot more Usher than I thought I did because I was out there freaking grooving the whole. I mean, the thing goes and it puts the little outro. This is the end of the Apple Music halftime show, and I was like, "Damn it, no, keep going, man! I want an encore." Fucking, this was better than the first half was. I mean,
no,
that was pretty cool.
I enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was.
Yeah. All right, so as we're talking about picks, let's recap. I mean, we didn't make any changes to our picks on last week's episode, but these are the ones from 2 weeks ago after championship Sunday. So you had the Chiefs. You get that. You had Chiefs money line and spread. I had Niners money line spread. I thought you said earlier the over-under was 47.5. Apparently it was 46.5. So the over just hits by 1 point. Look at the Chiefs ruining more things.
Yeah.
So the over hit, so we were both wrong on that. We had the under. I mean, we looked really sharp on that.
Oh yeah.
Like really sharp for all of the game until the touchdown puts it over. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Even if they did a field goal, 22-22, you take another field goal. Yeah, that's still 25-22. So we were screwed anyways they got into overtime and they got that field goal for the Niners. But I think we had good sides on that. I think I bet too emotionally there too. I actually did take 49ers money line. I had a parlay running for the game. Niners money line. I had over 42.5, which I was worrying about for most of the game. I had Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown, which he did not end up getting in, and I had Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown. I was so sure about that, man. I was like, this is such a good parlay, and you get deeper and deeper into the game, and you're like, well, this over's not going to hit, and the Niners aren't going to win. It's one of the other, and we got into overtime, and Sav was there with me, and she's like, oh, well, I need a Kelsey touchdown to parlay. And I was like, I've thrown my parlay out the window at this point. I don't care. I just want the Niners to win this game. And that didn't even happen. But
now I hit my bets, and this is how degenerate I am today. So this morning after I hit it, I looked on Fliff, and I'm running a 12-leg parlay with some soccer. I think I got some hockey, Celtics, got some basketball. And yeah, so with soccer, I both have the EPL and I have some Turkish Super League. But this is how really bad I am. I'm doing ATP tennis.
Buddy.
I know.
Buddy.
I know. It's really bad.
It's like betting on fucking ping pong. They have like overseas ping pong at like 3:30 a.m. that like real degenerates bet on. Or once you get into the summer, KBO, Korean basketball, or Korean baseball organization.
And it wasn't just me looking at the favorites. I actually Googled like this tournament to
You're
look
reading into tennis bet. Oh my god.
Yeah, but if it hits, it's over $800 today.
Nice. Guys, you see what happens when football's gone? Football's
Yeah,
gone for all of 5 hours and he's fucking betting ATP tennis. I mean, God, guys. It's 6 more months of this.
Yeah.
Um
It'll stop. Our new podcast will be talking about tennis.
No, I'm good on that. All right. Well, before we wrap up here with the Super Bowl, I mean, there's so much stuff we could go on and on about this, but I think it is good to move on to our next segment. What about this? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Way too early. Give me your 2025 Super Bowl matchup.
Oh, wow. Way too early, huh?
Way too early.
And well, yeah, this is episode 6, so we can always go back and listen and see what I said. But I'm going to go. Are you ready?
Yep.
I'm going to go Kansas City and Green Bay.
Okay. I had a feeling you'd do that.
Go back to Super Bowl number 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Man, I'm gonna put Buffalo in there from the AFC. I think they'll get above the hump. I'm trying to think about the NFC, and like, I almost want to say the Niners again, man, but I don't. Like, this is the best Niners team that we've seen. Like, they were built for a Super Bowl this year, and I don't know who they're losing cap wise and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, fuck, the Packers is a good one. No, let's go. Let's go with the Detroit Lions. Fuck it.
I was gonna think about Detroit as well,
I'll
but
stay in the NFC North. I think they could be set up to do it. I don't think they need to do anything quarterback wise. I think it's just a couple offseason additions defensively, maybe a more reliable wide receiver 3 you bring in there. I don't know. Could be cool. All right. Well, so you got Chiefs, Packers. Who you got winning it then? I don't even need to ask that question. Yeah. So you let us talk about all this that Chiefs hate, all of that, now they can go for 3-peat just to say that.
Yeah.
You actually a New England sports fan?
I am a New England sports fan.
I think we found the fraud on this podcast. All right. Well, moving on then from Super Bowl stuff to more football stuff for, what may be the last bit for a while until we get to draft and combine things or off season. We've got a couple different Patriots staff hirings that happened this week. A good bunch of them rolled out. Even some this morning. There were some later on last week, Thursday, Friday. I think there were even some earlier on in the week. Dad, do you have those pulled up? You want to go through some of these?
Well, yeah. So we talked about the DeMarcus Covington being promoted. So he's now our defensive coordinator. Grabbed a defensive line coach, Jerry Montgomery, previous player. Outside linebacker, Drew Wilkins. He's coming in. We're going to keep our secondary coaches. Mike Pellegrino was stays on the team or on the staff, and Brian Belichick will also stay as a safeties coach. So the secondary stays the same, which have had a decent secondary. Injuries affected us, but I think I always had a decent secondary, so that'll be cool. I think the most exciting, and also this morning, yes, Tyquan Underwood, another former Patriot player. So Gerard is bringing back all those old guys he played with. He's going to be the wide receiver coach. But the most exciting news, and we said this on episode 1, Dante Hightower, inside linebackers coach. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, we mentioned it as like what? Did we say as linebacker coach? I think that was the spot we said made the most sense. We said, if we were being fun, that could be DC. That would never have been the case. But do you like this hire? I love this hire.
I love this hire. Jawan Bentley is going to have a year.
Oh my God, yeah. He's just going to be Dante Hightower 2.0.
Yeah.
Just there. And he's already not a bad run stopping linebacker as is. And I feel like Dante is going to be able to tap into that a little more.
Absolutely.
Where I didn't necessarily think of Dante was a pass defending linebacker too much, dropping into coverage. But if you're going to bring in a linebackers coach to instill that run heavy, help there at the linebacker position, there's really not a better team to do it than the Patriots that use those weird hybrid safeties, hybrid linebackers, these weird formations that you have other guys dropping off into coverage, disguising some defensive schemes there so that you can get, your linebackers downhill and being able to support the run pretty well. So I think it'll be really good for our defense and help us against the run, which I mean, we've talked about a couple times on this podcast throughout the year that we were getting killed on the ground in the run game all year too. We were getting torn up. So this should definitely help that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think we're running it back to the early Patriot days in which it was defense, rushing. And this staff is super young too.
Super young. And you hope it all works. It works out. Now, I'm not expecting, a Super Bowl run or even a playoff win. But if you get above 500, if you miss the playoffs at 9-8 or something, but you keep this young coaching core and what's going to hopefully be a younger team, it's a great stepping stone for what could happen then in 2025, later down the line. Which is a great segue into our next segment, unless you have anything else you want to mention about this real quick.
No, I think this is a great segue into what comes up next.
All right. Well, then I'll hand you the reins here because this is your stuff. Let the listeners know what you're bringing up here and how we're going to go about this.
Well, I mean, lately, all reports, all media, everyone mentioning, do we end up going? Because again, I think it all depends on movement. Does Atlanta move up? Does the Raiders move up in the draft? Caleb Williams, Drake May, even Daniels, although we could probably get him at 3, but do we really see him as that quarterback we want? Or are we at that coveted spot that people trade up into to grab one of these 3 quarterbacks? If we do that, obviously there's a lot of talk now about, and I know Gerard on his press conference when he was talking to Steve Burton, he was mentioning we have to draft, a skilled position or a very important position. And obviously everyone's thinking that's quarterback. And it is, because you have to have your quarterback get the ball out. But, do we trade down? Do we hopefully get Marvin Harrison Jr., get a great wide receiver, great target? And do you end up going after one of the 3 free agent quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, manageable game leader, Baker Mayfield, or roll it back again, bring back Jacoby Brissett?
These are the guys?
These are the 3 guys that they're talking about free agent wise. So if you do that, then obviously, I guess we're looking at a 2025 quarterback, because obviously we're going to trade Mac Jones. Everyone's talking about Mac Jones getting traded. So if that's the case, if we're looking at a bridge quarterback, which we mentioned a couple episodes ago, Do we go and have a free agent, have Jacoby manage the game, come back, be that bridge guy this year? You'll still probably have Bailey Zappi on the roster. And then do you look at 2025 for a quarterback?
Okay. So do you have your 2025 guys there? And we'll go through-
I have a list of the way too early quarterbacks. All right, here's the rankings. So come 2025, do you like Shador Sanders?
I mean, yes and no. I think he's going to get overdrafted is the only thing. And so I don't want to have to use our pick that high up on him, I guess. I don't know. It's also I guess we're going to have to see with Shador, you know.
But so look at this. We've already said we're going to go 9-8, miss the playoffs, go above 500. We are picking, I don't know, 12, 14 in that range. Do you take them there? Because obviously, the real cool thing is I think everybody, Washington will have their quarterback of the future. Chicago. Obviously, that leaves Justin Fields, but does he go to Atlanta? I saw some reports go there. Does Sam Howell go to Atlanta? So if that's the case, those guys aren't going to probably draft another quarterback. Denver, I've seen, is looking at J.J. McCarthy. Bo Nix. What I think we saw some New Orleans Saints. So all these teams that would need a quarterback like us are probably going to be grabbing somebody. So he's not going to go high.
Yeah, but you think about it too. We're thinking about teams that need a quarterback this year. And it seems like no matter how many young guys you think go to the right position or go to the right teams and are set up in the right position, it still seems like every year it's kind of like the head coaching carousel. You still have 4 to 6 teams every year that are looking to replace, upgrade a quarterback. I mean, I know you mentioned like Bo Nix and New Orleans or something like that, but I could even see New Orleans not going for a guy this year, and then you worry about they're a top team next year that wants to get one and have a succession plan for Derek Carr. I mean, there's teams like the Steelers.
Jets will need somebody.
Yep. Jets definitely will. You got the Steelers, who I know they had mentioned. I saw something during the Super Bowl yesterday or a little before that they're pursuing Ryan Tannehill as a free agent quarterback this year, with Kenny Pickett already on the roster, young, to give him some, a little quarterback competition. You don't think they're probably drafting one this year, but if it goes south with Pickett again, or if it goes south with Tannehill, which I imagine it will, I don't know why you're going after him in that offense, then you're going to need a quarterback next year. So it's all these little teams that, we still got at least 17 more games to see between now and 2025 draft for a lot of these teams that are going to be also needing a quarterback down the line. But I mean, specifically when it comes to Shador, he's a great athlete and stuff. It's flashy, it's big, but I want to see this year. I want to see how, and maybe it's good that Colorado kind of fizzled out towards the end of the year. So, I mean, there's not so much pressure and hype on them to start the season this year. They can go out there and just ball. We can see Shador just go out there and just play how he wants, and see if, another year under his dad there in Colorado and bringing in a good recruiting class and getting Travis Hunter fully healthy again can really propel him to the next level. But I don't mind it, but it would have to depend on draft selection. Who's our next one then?
Next one is the kid from Penn State, Drew Aller.
Drew Aller.
Yeah.
I like Drew Aller. He's a weird one though. It's like I talk a lot of shit on JJ McCarthy because of the offense around him and stuff, that the role that he had to play in that offense for the last couple of years, specifically this year, bringing him to the national championship. I don't like JJ McCarthy as an NFL prospect, and I think as much as I like Drew Aller, I think it's going to be the same thing for him. He's got the intangibles a little bit, and he could be that guy, but I feel like coming from that Penn State system, it's going to be a weird transition to the NFL, and I I feel like too many people are going to want to highly draft Drew Aller, and they're going to highly tout him and all, where I really think he's one of those guys that could come in and needs to be a project quarterback. Maybe a guy like something like putting him in New York, I think would make in the Jets system under Rodgers, in a offense that it's going to have weapons on the outside, but if you need to for a young rookie quarterback or a young, first year quarterback, second year that comes in after Rodgers is gone, you have a run game that you can rely on with Breece Hall a little bit. I think that would make sense. I don't know. I don't feel like I feel comfortable enough in our weapons or what our weapons could be a year and a half from now to be okay with Drew Aller. But if it happens to fall that way, I'm not hating it, but I'm not loving it, I guess.
All right. How about I'm going to skip. I'm going to go another flashy name right now. Carson Beck.
Man, Carson Beck's weird. I don't even fully know, I watched him play this year, but I don't know about him. I feel like, he's definitely, when I think of Carson Beck here, all right, I'm trying to compare it to the Mac Jones 2020. It gives me a lot of similarities. You're getting not necessarily carried by a great team, because Mac Jones was a great part of why that Alabama offense was good, and Carson Beck, same thing for Georgia, and distributing the ball there a lot to his weapons. But you got a great defense there in Georgia. You got just a great team. The back-to-back champions there before Michigan. So Carson Beck could be good, but I think a lot is going to be telling based on how he does come combine time next year. And, if he does any of it won't be Senior Bowl because I don't think he's a senior, but any of those things pre-draft to really see playing against, other competition and not playing with his stacked lineup all the time, how it can translate. But I don't think I'd mind it. I think he could be sneaky athletic. It's just weird. I don't know. He's just weird to me. So I probably just have a bad thought about Carson Beck, but he could be something.
I think you're thinking he's a JT Daniels.
No, JT Daniels is JT Daniels.
Or Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Just what they just throw out. But I think the kid at 6'4" can at least throw and make better and some NFL type throws. So, all right, two more. Quinn Ewers, a winner.
I love Quinn.
Yeah,
I love Quinn. He did say he's coming back, right?
Yeah.
Already? Okay,
Yeah.
because I was going to say, it would have been interesting to see where he would go in this year's draft. I like Quinn. I hope Texas doesn't try to get too cute next year and split his time with Arch Manning.
Yeah.
But I love Quinn. I think this year, with them moving into the SEC for the first time, I think it's going to be big, and seeing, and there was some competition in the Big 12. I'll give them that. And, they definitely did what they were supposed to do, but it'll be interesting to see, bring them into the SEC and
better defenses,
better all around teams.
Yeah.
And see how Texas can translate it. See if we see the Texas team that we've known for the last 5 years that can come up short, or if we get a year of the Texas team that just made it to the college football playoff.
All right. And the last, let's go back to the SEC, Jalen Milroe.
Oh, Jalen. I kind of want to say like yes, because I think he's going to be a great mobile quarterback. But I don't think as good as I think he could be in the league, I don't think our system's going to be right for it. Now it could all change. We got to see how Alex Van Pelt and Gerard Mayo make this offense for the next year. But I think, if you're taking on Milroe, you're trying to transition your offense kind of into that Baltimore Ravens playbook and focusing a lot on, the triple option, the quarterback runs, just establishing the run game, and you establish the pass game just to open up the linebackers every now and then. So I don't think it could fit just because I don't think that's the offensive style we're going to go with. But if we get to, halfway through the year next year and we realize this is the sort of offense that Mayo does want to run for his team, then Milroe could, by the time our, big boards and stuff open up for the draft for 2025, he could be number one quarterback target on our list. That would make the most sense for us. But at the same time, we don't want to get burned by another Alabama quarterback here.
I was going to say, do you want to go back to Alabama?
I don't know. But, all right, are those all the guys you had there?
Yep. Those are the guys. I mean, there was a few other guys, but, do you want to say Riley, Leonard, Daniel Jones 2.0?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I like Riley because Duke, but I don't. He's going to be like a third-round pick, and I think he's just going to come in and be, if he's ever going to get a starting chance, it's going to be a couple years down the line. And I'm talking like 3 or 4. I don't think he's coming in and he's going to be a succession plan for any team or something that they're like, oh, guys, don't worry. I know we had a bad year, but I'm bringing in the quarterback savior, Riley Leonard. This will come on. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, but he is going to be starting for Notre Dame this year.
He is, and so he could impress us a lot more. But we'll see with Riley Leonard. I guess I think it's going to be just a Sam Hartman situation again, where I do think Sam probably gets picked up this year in the draft. It's going to be late, but he's going to come in. I mean, you look at some of these Notre Dame quarterbacks, and don't get me wrong, Sam Hartman and Riley Leonard coming out of Notre Dame are both going to be better prospects than Ian Book was when he came out of Notre Dame a couple of years ago. But you look at him, and I mean, it was a good Notre Dame team, and he gets drafted to the Saints, I think. And we saw him in like one preseason game, and I don't think he's touched the ball since. I think it's just one of those things that you got to be like an insane talent coming from Notre Dame. Otherwise, I mean, with the prestige of that program and some of the guys that they bring in, and just the team that Marcus Freeman runs now, you really got to impress to get a good shot coming out of the league coming out of college being a Notre Dame quarterback.
I think obviously, I mean, they've had Tony Rice was great, in college and helped lead them to a national championship or at least get into that game. But I think obviously the last great Notre Dame quarterback was Joe Montana.
True. All right. Well, that'll wrap us up from this segment here. We've got one more before we end this off. This might be a little bit of a shorter one, but we do have the news. And get this, I know this is a New England sports podcast, or primarily based. It is episode 6, and this is the first time we are talking about the Boston Red Sox.
Mark it
for
down
good
now.
reason.
Yeah.
Mark, this is a historical moment. Netflix came out and said that they will be following around the 2024 Red Sox team to create 2 docuseries next year, coming out in 2025. One for the 2004 team that broke the
86
year streak there. Yep. And then one following around this team. So how do you feel about this first? Because I've got my thoughts, but I want to hear how you feel about this.
First, I mentioned it, to mom, and her first words came out, "Why this team? Why this year?" And I said, maybe because you get to see, a 20-year free fall. I mean, they at least won a couple other World Series after 2004, but yet where this team has plummeted to a couple last place finishes, three in a row. Is that correct? I mean,
Oh God,
you don't
tell
see.
me 3. Is it
You
really?
don't see. Yeah, I think it is. You don't see the Red Sox, and I don't see what they're doing this year to make. Even though Theo Epstein is back as a senior advisor and part owner, yeah, I just don't see what they're doing, what their plans are to make this a contending wild card team. I think it's going to be another third or fourth place finish for them. I mean, that's a tough division they're in.
It's the best division in baseball. 3 out of the last 4 years, by the way. 2023 finished 78-84. 2022 also finished 78 and 84. 2021 92 and 70, and then 2020, the COVID year, 24 and 36. So it's 3 of the past 4 we've been last. I mean, that sucks. Yeah, like you're talking about, like I think it's going to be really weird because I mean, we've got a month and a half until opening day, and moves can still be made, and I still feel like, you get the moves throughout the offseason, and there's always surprise baseball teams that come up every year in the MLB. So you're like, oh, our team's going to be ass, and then they start off hot, and I'm not ruling that out. They could have found the perfect mix in the clubhouse, in the lineup, and this team could be good. But what it comes down to is I don't, and this has been a problem even in 2018 when we won the World Series. I think we have just been lacking in starting pitching and relief pitching depth for years now, and it's worrisome that it has still not been addressed. I think it was something. Now, granted, Kime's out, and we've went through a couple changes since then. But I think like the previous guys, they're seeing it as, oh, we won the title in 2018. Maybe we can just go along with this team, and then you make the fucking moves of like moving Mookie, and then you had the move this offseason of, oh, well, who did we trade Mookie for? Verdugo. Nice. Let's give him to our biggest rival in the New York Yankees. Just making these fucking boneheaded moves that it's like, I feel like we're just going around in circles and we're not gaining anything. I think that we're just, honestly, with it being the best division in baseball outside of us, I mean, if we're good, this division's scary, very scary. Even without this, you got the Yankees, who, while they had a down year last year, they're going to rebound. They're going to be good. They got the Juan Soto addition. You got Toronto, who made a bunch of smart free agent additions. They might not have made any big splashes, but that was already a good team with really good depth, pretty good defensively too. And you're adding in these little guys. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. I still don't understand how they're good every year, but they continue to just win games with homegrown talent that none of us are anticipating coming up. Minus Wander Franco. And then you've got the Baltimore Orioles, who are fucking good at baseball now. That came out of nowhere, and they're really good. And then they go and get Corbin Burns this week. And it's like, you're going to have to play 19 games a year against guys within your division, multiply that by 4, playing 76 of the 162 games are against these teams. And honestly, like, I'm looking at it, and you look at this team, man, and we might be lucky to go 30 and 46. 30 and 46 in division, 25 and that's not, wait, 30 and 46, 25 and 51 in division. And if you're doing that with your in division games, I mean, we've still got a hell of a lot of hard teams to play out of division, and like the NL teams. So I think it's going to be cool because I like the docuseries and watching stuff like that. But I think for us, we're going to watch the 2004 one. It's going to be like, oh, this is awesome. I remember this. This is great. This was the start of something awesome. And then you go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, and then you're going to watch the 2024 docuseries, and it's just going to be depression. But I think it's still going to be a cool look into it, right?
Right. Well, I think you mentioned two things there. One, the fact that Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and even Toronto built their team with homegrown talent. And I think by bringing Theo Epstein back, he's going to hope to be doing the same thing. Homegrown talent, work the farm system, try and build that back up. But that's going to take years to do. So the 2024 docuseries will be interesting to see how maybe that plays out, some of the moves and Alex Cora, and how does he bring this team together? Obviously, 2004, the cool thing will be watching that final World Series win against St. Louis, and again, I recall that started, I think you mentioned it, that started your love of championship New England sports. And I mean, again, I remember this clear as day, going upstairs, waking you up and then bringing you down to watch that final out. Keith Folks throw over to first base and I'm almost certain it was 11:38 p.m.
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see because, I mean, I saw this being so young. So, and I mean, I've seen, the little documentary things that have popped up in the years about, previous Red Sox teams. And then, I mean, specifically the one I can think of right now, it's the one, what is it, the 3 days in October or whatever, the 30 for 30 that ESPN did about the 3-0 comeback for the Red Sox over the Yankees, the ALCS there. That one's awesome. And so if it's going to be anything like that, it'll be very fun to watch. And hopefully, it sucks that we're going to have to wait a year for it. I would have loved for this to come out in 2024. But I mean, it makes sense. You have to follow around the team for a year, so it can't. But I guess, once it's all said and done, once we're done grieving the end of the Red Sox season, inevitably the season ends around September, but we'll be able to call the season by like July. At least we have, something to look forward to 6 months later or so after it's done. Yeah.
So we'll be watching each episode and then doing a recap of what our thoughts are on that episode.
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome. Cool. I really hope it lines up perfectly with, we do it weekly, so we'll make it work, but we'll keep y'all updated more and more once we get closer to that, or if we hear a date come out, or anything that could be helpful. But we're looking forward to it, definitely. All right. Well, before we get out of here, you got any last things to say, Dad? Any last thoughts about the Super Bowl, the Pats hirings, our 2025 guys, Red Sox series, anything you might not have cleared up early?
No, I think that if we recap really quickly, Hanson's a little upset, little heated over which, it was a great game. It was a good game, defensive game. Wasn't high scoring, but a decent football game, good Super Bowl. It'd be neat to see what ratings were and all. Oh, maybe we should do that. Do a little Super Bowl ranking. What we feel were the top 10 best games ever.
Yeah, it's a great point, but we should have brought that up, in an episode before the Super Bowl. Because I don't know if you remember the Super Bowl, the big football game, it happened last night. So now that means that the NFL season is over. There's no more football.
Oh, well, I was watching the WM. Sorry.
Yeah.
And getting ready to bet on tennis, but yeah. So that was good. Great young hire. Excited staff. We mentioned staff is going to grow for the Patriots. And yeah, it'll be exciting to relive your 2004 Boston Red Sox champions. And all the emotions, obviously, of 86 years, and you were just a little baby at the time. But again, be able to bring that back and watch that'll be cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let me just recap here. Red Sox 2024. Guys, you have cameras on you all year. Don't disappoint us. I mean, if there's any season that you're going to just go out there and be good, let it be this one so we can see it all on camera. 2025 draft, guys. Let's hope we don't have to get there. Let's hope that we're taking a quarterback in a couple months. Good hires by the Pats. Congrats to the fucking Kansas City Chiefs, I guess. I'm not happy about it, and whatever. I don't want to continue on it more. Yeah. Thank God that Kelsey and Taylor Swift didn't get freaking engaged right there at the end. Oh my God. If I would have saw that on the podium, I would have absolutely blown up.
When I saw him up there, Jim Nance goes over to talk to him. I'm like, yes. I mean,
right.
He had obviously a good game. He turned it on in the second half, 9 for 93, but it wasn't splashy. It wasn't a touchdown. It wasn't any of that. Although he almost had that touchdown to win the game at the end, but Fred Warner had a beat on that. Great defensive play by Fred Warner. But yeah, I mean, I thought that maybe he was gonna do it.
Yeah, maybe, but it didn't happen. The world gets saved of that for at least, I don't know, maybe another 6 months. Maybe it should have happened because now we're going to have Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce coverage all of next year too as they try to get the three-peat.
Yeah.
We'll worry about that once we start talking about football again in 6 months on this podcast. A well-needed break. We can start talking about some other sports. But that'll be it. Thank you guys for listening to episode 6 of a New Era podcast. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. At a New Era Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Name is just a New Era Podcast on Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, concerns that you would like us to bring up on the show, you can send an email to a new era podcast at gmail.com. And we'll be sure to get to those in due time once we get to like a question and answer episode. But with that being said, we are all done here. Hope you guys have a great week. Hope the Chiefs win doesn't hurt you as bad as it hurts me. Let's kick ass this week, and we will catch you guys next Monday for episode 7.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.